Hello everybody and welcome back to another video. Today I'll be discussing esports digital literacy. This is mainly for some of my teammates here at Missouri Valley College, but I'm sure a few of my friends, that I know from UAH and maybe even high school or family or something might be able to learn a little bit from this. Just a simple video going over some tips and tricks on how to optimize Windows, how to make sure you're getting the most out of your keyboard and mouse setup, and also some stuff about troubleshooting. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get into it. The first thing you're going to want to do when learning Windows and digital literacy, especially in respect to esports, is learn how the start menu works. It is not super intuitive on Windows 11, which is the example I'll be using for today. Definitely putting it on dark mode as well, and that should help quite a bit. Okay. Anyways, it'll show you your recently used common settings, that kind of thing. So for starters, system is going to be where you're spending a lot of your time. So for example, going to display, making sure you go to advanced display right here, and then going to a higher refresh rate if you have a monitor that supports over 60 hertz. Go back to system, let's say sound. Maybe you want to swap whatever audio device you're using. I know for me, I use a dual audio setup, earbuds and headphones. This is a menu I'm in quite a bit because I do have to change between them. Most games will also have options for dual audio setups, though. You just have to make sure you set your devices accordingly. Might give an example of that later. Also super important through system is going to be notifications. That refers to anything you get in this menu right here on Windows 11. On Windows 10, it's in this bottom right corner. Just random things that you don't want popping up on the bottom left when you're in game. Just turn on Do Not Disturb. You'll never get anything from them again. Continuing on here, going into the power and just setting it to best performance. It's going to be set to balanced by default. You're losing a little bit of performance, but nothing super significant. It's just best practice to go ahead and do it. This is also where you're going to have, turning off your screen or putting it to sleep after a certain amount of time has passed. And you can also go further into that with a menu that I can't find right now. Moving on. This menu, Bluetooth and devices, actually kind of handy. Got to give it to Windows 11 for this one. Go to mouse here. It gives you some of your options, but the real settings are going to be under additional mouse settings right here. This is where you're going to find Mouse Accel. I'm going to put a demo on screen right now of how Mouse Accel works. As you can see, when I turn my Mouse Accel on, you're going to see that the faster I move my mouse, the faster the cursor moves. And usually you might think, oh, for gaming, you probably want that just because it mimics your actual movements. Some people do prefer that. However, Windows implementation of mouse acceleration is not completely accurate. You're gonna see inconsistencies in it, which is the biggest problem. And in esports, you want consistency. I always turn it off. That's how you do it. Uncheck that box. Going back to devices, there's a few things here that you might find useful, like your cameras. You can add network cameras from this menu as well, and privacy settings. But honestly, if you're going to use a camera, you probably just deal with that through OBS or Discord or something like that. So we're just going to go ahead and move on to the next segment here. If this menu isn't intuitive enough for you, there's another great menu called Control Panel that does a lot of this stuff for you as well. Control Panel is super, super nice. It's pretty obvious where stuff's going to be at. Anything hardware or sound related, so your devices like your mouse settings, going to be right here. Anything sound wise, you go to manage audio devices, pops up this lovely menu right here in reference to any audio devices you might have. If you wanted to mute or turn up audio right here, maybe balance it per right and left channel. Or if you're like me and you have a headset microphone, you can unmute it from here. You can also do spatial sound as well, but probably third-party software for that. For recording as well, you can always listen to what your microphone sounds like, even if you don't have like Discord launched or something. You're going to click listen to this device, and it'll play it back through your Windows default playback device, which is usually whatever headphones you're using, but you can also change what it is through this menu. And of course, power options, pretty simple here. You always want to choose the fastest one. Under additional plans here, ultimate performance, always a good one to do. Again, helps you get just a little more frames in your game and a little bit more reliable power delivery. Moving on here, I have opened my mouse's software. I'm going to get into a little discussion on how DPI works as far as mice goes. the lower is not the better. Contrary to popular opinion as far as esports goes, the lower is actually worse. Not only does it track your inputs a little less because it is measuring less things per second, but it has increased input latency to something higher. All modern gaming mice that are good are competent of running, up to 26,000 DPI. No one should ever go that high. However, going up to say 10,000, like I'm at right now, is super beneficial in a lot of ways. I'm going to link to an optimum video in the description that you should 100% go and watch if you're interested in this topic. Basically, the higher your DPI, the less input latency you have, especially on wireless mice like this one. But there are diminishing returns the higher you go. So you don't want to max it out to 25,000 DPI because it's not as effective as just being on like 10,000 DPI. Plus, the higher DPI you have, the faster your battery's going to die, which like not a big deal if you don't care, but just something to think about. All right, for this next section of the video, I'm going to go over troubleshooting network problems, starting with packet loss. Packet loss is something you can always detect in game, like in Valorant, for example. You can turn on a packet loss graph, shows you when you do get packet loss. But for those that don't have that, or if you just think you're getting it on a desktop, there is one command that is super easy to run. You're going to type ping 1.1.1.1. Some of you may recognize this as Cloudflare or Google DNS, same thing. Then after that, you're going to type -t. -t just sets no time limit. It just keeps running. As you can see here, command's running. Pretty simple readouts here. And here we go. Example of packet loss as well. So starting, this time of 8 milliseconds means that that's what your ping is. That is the time it takes to send the command to the server and get a response back. And as you can see, these little request timed out things right here, that is indications of packet loss. So when you get lots of different instances of that, for example, if it was request timed out for 5 or 6 lines at a time, that means you're getting pretty significant packet loss. Anything on these little 1-line segments right here, probably about 1 to 3% loss, which is not ideal, of course, but it's maybe nothing to contact your ISP about unless it's pretty common. Next, you're going to be testing your internet speed and also reliability. Of course, speedtest.net for this one. They actually have a pretty handy Chrome extension, which I don't have downloaded right now, but you can always just go ahead and do this. Shows a decently accurate readout of your ping. I don't think I fully agree with it, but it is what it is. Also gets a very accurate reading of your download and upload speed. Always a good tool to use. If your ping is high on this site, it means something's probably wrong with your network. Need to restart your router or something like that. But just make sure you're getting decent speeds here, and it should indicate that your network is at good operating health. If you're playing a game and you see something's wrong, like you can't connect but everything else is working internet-wise, like say you can't get into a matchmaking server on Counter-Strike, but you can load a YouTube video, something useful is going to be steamstat.us. Shows obviously how many people are online and in-game on Steam, but the more yellow or red you see on this site, the more obvious it is that something's wrong. You can always check each individual game or even by region of what's going on. Only for Steam games, though. And then obviously, whenever it does hit Tuesday, you'll actually see up here, it'll give you a warning that, hey, maintenance is happening right now. Something helpful about this site as well is it auto refreshes every 14 seconds with new data, so you'll know, hey, something's wrong. And especially if you see these page views spike, means something's probably offline and it's nothing related to your internet. Now, another useful tool for detecting if a service is down or not that isn't on Steam, it's going to be Down Detector. Also, very simple to use. Go to YouTube for an example here. Now, 51 reports that something has gone to the baseline of like 23 at 2 p.m. It means that maybe some people are having issues, but not going to be anything significant. However, if you scroll to something like Call of Duty, and you see lots of spikes of reports, it means that probably some of the game servers are starting to go down, and it'll even have their most recent posts to see if the company in question has determined that there are server issues and that they're working on them. This is a very, very useful tool that I highly recommend pretty much anyone use at any time, diagnosing network issues. Next, this screen right here. You do not want to see this screen. This is bad news. This screen means that your hard drive is likely kaput, completely dead, unsalvageable. I don't want to say unsalvageable, but it's not going to load into Windows no matter how hard you try. You're going to need to contact your hard drive manufacturer or your motherboard manufacturer because one of the two is completely gone. If you can't access your BIOS, it means it's probably the hard drive. Next, if you just kind of want to like monitor your temps of your components or see different speeds and whatnot, you're going to go to HWinfo 64. Super handy utility. It just downloads into a simple menu, shows you, what your temperatures are, what speed your memory is running at, is it a dual channel, what your CPU frequencies are, what the speeds are across different cores. It's just a really handy free utility that you should 100% do, especially if you're a little bit tech savvy. It is a little bit unintuitive of an interface. It takes a little bit of learning to get used to, but it's also just pretty obvious where all the information's laid out. So really handy tool for diagnosing if you have temperature issues or not. And that's the conclusion of this video. Really simple stuff I went over today. If you did need any other tips, tricks, that kind of thing, I'm going to leave a bunch of resources in the description, maybe in a playlist, just videos discussing different topics on computer literacy that I didn't necessarily cover here. That also regards to like, peripherals and stuff like that by people who make much higher quality videos than I do. But hope this helped anyone who watched. Super happy I can make this kind of content. Really enjoying going back on the content creation train. Just such a blast. And yeah, hope you guys enjoyed.